are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to College Loop Podcast, episode 236 of the College Loop Podcast. My name is Dylan Larck, Wiltfong on Twitter. And please ignore what I said in the last episode where I said it was episode 300. I was extremely off, and I don't know why I said that. So, as we get ready to talk more about Auburn athletics news, make sure to go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, because you know what? A new FONG bomb has dropped. Steve Wiltfong of On3 has released a prediction for the Auburn Tigers to land Notre Dame commit 4-star quarterback, top 5 quarterback in class 2025, Deuce Knight, projecting him again to flip from Notre Dame to the Auburn Tigers. Deuce Knight currently stands at 6'4.5", 206 pounds, out of George County in Mississippi. A left-handed dual threat who can run a 4.5. So great size, great speed. And again, it's been since I believe Brandon Cox, since I think Auburn's had I want to go ahead and say solid left-handed quarterback just to be safe. I know Cord Sandberg a few years back was, of course, left-handed, but it would be a great pickup for the Tigers, because as they say, once you get your quarterback in a recruiting class, the wide receivers start piling in. So that'd be a huge grab for Auburn, huge grabs for Auburn as soon as wide receivers start committing. That's what you're looking for. Once you get your quarterback in a class, you get your wide receivers in a class too. That's what they're waiting to see. And Deuce Knight, again, we talk about this a lot, that Deuce Knight would be entering a quarterback battle upon arriving to the Auburn Tigers against Walker White and Hank Brown. So very interesting, because at that point, you got 2 years of Hank Brown, you got a year of Walker White, and then you have a brand new talent in Deuce Knight. And you kind of try to see where they kind of pan out. But I think next year Walker White will be the dude, and kind of see what happens with his career. And then Deuce Knight era would begin after Walker White. And that's, of course, assuming that, again, Walker White would win the job. But we're trying to predict something that would happen a year or two from now. So let's not do that too much. But if Auburn were to pick up Deuce Knight per 24/7, Auburn would jump LSU, and they would have the number 4 overall class in the class 2025. All that without any composite 5 stars, which is absolutely huge, because he assumed the second Auburn picks up one of those guys, or, hear me out, some of Auburn's 4-star guys earn that 5th composite star. Because if you ask me, Jared Smith and Blake Autry are already 5 stars. Those two are already 5 stars, and I think they deserve a little bit of credit from the rest of these recruiting sites, because these two guys are ridiculous. And I also think Auburn could have a few more guys kind of jump in that 5-star category after this season. But all Auburn needs is a couple. And then they just make a steady little jump, and maybe Auburn can finish with the top 3 class. I'm pretty content with my prediction for 5, but I am not going to say no to watching the Auburn Tigers get a top 3, top 1 if it's possible class. But with that, that's we're still waiting on that. I've heard sources have been saying that this flip is imminent, so jury's still out on when it will happen, but everyone is pretty confident, from what I've heard of, that Deuce Knight will be an Auburn Tiger at some point in his recruiting cycle. And if Auburn picks up Deuce Knight, James Barnett, a guy who loves to boog more than anybody, including myself, he has said Auburn could finish with a number 1 class if Auburn picks up Deuce Knight and tries to pick up a few more guys like Usman Chroma, Andrew Babalola, and I guess those 2 guys Auburn finna have the number 1 class. So keep that in mind. Auburn could be way ahead of schedule in terms of where they are recruiting wise. But with that, kind of moving on to the next year's recruiting class, the recruiting class that's already the number 1 overall recruiting class, 2026. Auburn adds their first defensive back and their 6th overall player in 3-star corner Wayne Henry out of St. Francis Academy. That school probably sounds familiar because Auburn already has 2 commits in this recruiting class from that school, and Blake Woodby and Bryce Diaz. Wayne Henry kind of is a safety, stands at 5'9". Size, you kind of have to see how that kind of fits into the scheme, but Wayne Henry is a willing tackler, a tenacious tackler at that, who probably would play more of the slot role or the nickel in this defense under DJ Durkin and Charles Kelly, and just a solid all around corner that Auburn could pick up. And Blake Woodby and Bryce Diaz seemed to. I know Blake Woodby. I didn't see if Bryce Diaz tweeted about it, but I know Blake Woodby said that Auburn's getting a good one in Wayne Henry. But great pickup. You got your first defensive back of that class, a class that a lot of us are expecting to kind of stay at that number one spot. So huge pickup there, and Auburn continues to just be so hot on the recruiting trail. Again, it's something that we always talk about. Auburn has never been this ridiculous when it comes to recruiting. I don't think I've ever had an off season where I have been so focused on what Auburn is doing recruiting wise, because it's never been a focal point of a coaching staff. It's been looked at. You had last administration who wanted to recruit the right guys, not the best guys, kind of focused on their evaluation and tried to develop. And then you had to the few years back with Gus Malzahn, I felt like you were recruiting talent, but not talent that you needed. And I know a lot of people have kind of had that sentiment. But overall, it's been a fun offseason. And we're currently 25 days away to Auburn football, and hopefully all of us fans can keep the expectations in our right mind. But it's hard to not be excited if you're an Auburn fan right now. And you should be excited. But it's hard not to be a little delusional. Is that the word I'm looking for? Just keep that in mind as the season comes along. Maybe don't project this team to win any national championships in this season. Or I don't expect this team to win an SEC championship this year. But with that, kind of moving on from recruiting to our ULM preview, continue our way too early season preview series with hopefully, I say this again because I could not live through another migraine that I had with the Mexico State game. What this should be outside of Alabama A&M, I'll single them out because they're FCS, and I think they're pretty solid for an FCS team. Auburn will take on probably their easiest opponent of the year, and I am knocking on wood profusely as they take on a team projected to finish last in the Sun Belt. And I hate that I'm saying it because it's something that I'm never going to be able to live past as an Auburn fan, is that stupid New Mexico State game. Never going to live past it. So I'm just going to continue. ULM, famously known for having a quarterback named General Booty, who transferred in from Oklahoma, I believe, this past offseason. Yes, that's correct. As I'm looking through Phil Steele's kind of unit rankings, there's not really a position where ULM doesn't finish last in outside of defensive line. This is a game. I'm not going to spend too much time previewing this game because this is a game Auburn should absolutely take control of from the second the ball is kicked to the game ends. Yeah, this is a game Auburn should never be trailing in. Auburn should never be within a score. I don't want to say that because 2 scores of it past the second quarter. This is overall just a game Auburn should, in fact, win no matter what. This is not going to be a in-depth preview of that because every single position is a position that Auburn has an advantage in. I don't think that that's a hot take. Overall, this is a game Auburn should be able to run the ball a lot, pass the ball a lot, and score a lot of points. They'll go in. This is a game. This is a week after a bye week. So You got A&M the next week. Don't look too far ahead because God forbid that thing that happened last year ever happens again. Because holy crap, I again could not deal with another one of those losses ever again. Never. I've seen the bad losses. That one haunts me, and I hate talking about it. But I can't stop talking about it because I hate it so much. But overall, Terry Bowden not at ULM anymore. It is now former UAB offensive coordinator Brian Vincent who's taken over. Last year they finished dead last in the Sun Belt, finished with a 2-10 record, 0-8 in the Sun Belt. It's not a good team. And that's just me putting it nicely, per se. Auburn should win this game by a lot. If I had to give a score prediction, I'll give Auburn. I think Auburn hits the 50 burger in this one. I give Auburn 52 to. I'll give them 52-7. That's how this game should end. So I'll leave the preview there because I'm not going to go too far in depth because next week we have Texas A&M. So with that, kind of got to move on to the last little segment we got for today, talking about basketball. Before we do, I'm going to play a little ad, do a little ad read, and then we'll talk about some basketball, and then we'll get out of here. So we'll be right back. There we go. That's the wrong thing. Sorry.
Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes, looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your college loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program.
Of course, on thewarreport.com. Go to the shop. First page college loop hat, which I'm currently not wearing right now. But it is the most comfortable hat I've ever worn. But I also own a lot of hats. So you can trust me, 100% guaranteed, most comfortable hat in my possession. As well as the Feelin' Loop t-shirt, which is the most comfortable shirt you've worn in your entire life. Combined. They combine for the best outerwear if your mood changes immediately upon wearing both the hat and the shirt. You have to buy them in a combo, and your mood just jumps up. That's 10 out of 10 doctors agree that's definitely a thing that happens. But if you're liking the show, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Leave your predictions for where you think Auburn's going to finish in the class 2025, and also, do you think Auburn's going to stay number one throughout the remainder of the 2026 recruiting cycle for next year? And also, leave your predictions for ULM and Auburn. Do you think Auburn drops it? Do you think Auburn absolutely demolishes ULM and what should be seen as not a revenge game for last year whenever they lost the late season G5 team? But with that being said, men's basketball news: Auburn to play another tough opponent next year in Ohio State, taking them on for Holiday Hoops Giving. They will be playing in, of course, Atlanta at State Farm Arena. And this non-con is absolutely ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. You'll get early on the season where you're going to take on Houston on November 9th. And then the Maui Invitational is going to go on. And let me just read you the names of the teams that are in this. UConn, North Carolina, Michigan State, Memphis, Iowa State, Dayton, and Colorado. Auburn's going to play three of those teams. And then the ACC Challenge, where Auburn will be traveling to Coleman Arena to take on the Duke Blue Devils. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And then Holiday Hoops Giving comes around. Auburn will take on Ohio State. And then December 21st in Birmingham, Alabama, Auburn will be taking on Purdue. This schedule is absolutely ridiculous. And if Auburn somehow manages to come out of it with minimum losses, we're all going to be booging. We are all going to be going crazy if Auburn only finishes what they have right now with 1 to 2 losses, because that'd be absolutely ridiculous. And again, this is a team that's going to go into this year with a lot of hype, and rightfully so. Best center in the league, best center tandem in the league. You have a slew of guards who can score from anywhere on the court. You have 2 young guys in Tahad Pettiford and Ja'Kai Howard who can tear it up even against the vets. And the forwards are stacked. You have Chad Baker-Mazara, again, Ja'Kai Howard, and just you get Chris Moore, but you can if Semo can play like he did last year at the end of the season, I mean, Auburn will go into this year with 3 deep at the forward position. But you got guys like Jaheim Hudson, and just Chaney Johnson, and hopefully get to see some more of Darren Scott. And it's crazy to me that all the scholarship athletes on this team, there's only 2 freshmen. And the rest of them are all seniors. So Auburn's recruiting heavily in this upcoming recruiting class as well, to hopefully have a team that can go on the court in 2026 or 2025, 2026. But overall, this team has a lot of hype and a lot of hype to live up to. They have a schedule that meets that hype, and I don't want to say it's boom or bust, but I think that this year is going to speak a lot about the career of Bruce Pearl at Auburn, because this is going to be the team that's going to be set. This is going to say a lot. Bruce Pearl again is going to be here until he's done coaching basketball, and rightfully so. He's the greatest coach in Auburn basketball history. He will be getting a statue upon his retirement. Might even name a building on campus after him. That's, but this season's got a lot of hype, and again, rightfully so. And I cannot wait until November, when the season starts. We're less than 100 days away from Auburn basketball being back on our screens, and you get a little bit of turnover with basketball and football going on at the same time. So that's going to be a lot of fun. The season's going to be a lot of fun. Get your tickets, because I heard that they're expensive. So make sure to get those early, and make sure to sell probably in Oregon for one. But with that does it for this episode of the College Loop Podcast. I'm, of course, Dylan Larck, at your boy Tank on Twitter, at Dylan Larck on Instagram. It's DYLENLERCK. Of course, follow me there as well. But also check me out on the Warport Gaming, where I am rebuilding the Kennesaw State Owls. We are currently 1-1 after a miraculous win over the Raging Cajuns, where I got a pick 6 and absolutely went crazy after that, because I was focusing completely the opposite side of the field from where the pick 6 happened. So with that being said, thanks for watching some of the College Loop Podcast. And as always, don't forget to follow us on socials at the College Loop, literally everywhere. I forgot to say that. And check us out on the audio version of the show as well on Spotify, Podcast, Google Podcasts, Sports, Amazon Music. Now, with all that being said, this has been the College Loop Podcast. And as always, War Eagle.